What is going on inside the Circle City right now is blowing my mind, and every real Colts fan needs to hear this immediately. We are looking at a chaotic front office situation that could change the future of the shoe forever. From sudden draft strategy shifts to major coaching hot seats, and a massive quarterback contract situation that has rival fans laughing at us. If you bleed blue and live for the Colts, you need to subscribe to the channel right now because things are getting absolutely crazy today. Chris Ballard is officially at the center of a massive front office pivot right now, and it is exactly what we need to talk about in Naptown today. The general manager is hyper-focused on reinforcing our defense and plugging up some glaring holes on this roster as we dive deep into the latest post-free agency mock draft scenarios. And here is the scary part for the rest of the league. This executive knows his back is against the wall, and he is operating with a completely different level of aggression. Because of our limited moves earlier, the team is now desperately trying to compensate for the painful absence of a first-round pick by targeting highly strategic selections in the later rounds. Now think about this for a second. Missing out on that premium day one talent could absolutely cripple a franchise, but this general manager believes he has found the exact hidden gems needed to flip the script. This is the kind of move casual fans do not understand but wins championships in the National Football League. We are talking about building a gritty, unapologetic defensive unit that can dominate the trenches and make opposing quarterbacks see ghosts at Lucas Oil Stadium. But it gets worse if these strategic mid-round picks do not pan out, because the pressure is mounting like never before in the Circle City. Every single decision being made in that draft room right now carries franchise-altering weight, and the margin for error is essentially zero. They are digging through the college ranks to find versatile defenders who can step in immediately and cover the massive gaps left on our depth chart after a wildly disappointing free agency period. You have to wonder what is really going on behind those closed doors, because the silence from the front office has been deafening until these mock drafts started leaking out. This prospect evaluation process is grueling, and finding day one starters without premium draft capital is a monumental task. But what the Colts are planning to do next is where things get really interesting. If you trust our front office to keep building the most dominant team in the AFC South, hit that like button right now and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Shane Steichen is standing right in the middle of an absolute hurricane, because the limited moves made by the Indianapolis Colts in free agency have generated a climate of total disorganization within the franchise. And here is the scary part. The man calling the plays on the sideline is the one taking all the heat for a roster that simply did not get the upgrades everyone in Naptown was begging for. Inside the building, this raised serious concerns about the overall direction of the team and the communication between the coaching staff and the executives upstairs. Now think about this. You cannot expect an offensive mastermind to cook a 5-star meal if you do not give him the right groceries, yet the blame is falling squarely on his shoulders. Analysts across the league are already pointing out that another frustrating season could literally cost the head coach his job before he even gets a fair chance to fully implement his system. This is the kind of locker room drama that can derail a season before training camp even kicks off, and fans are absolutely furious about it. The reality is that the lack of veteran additions has left our offensive and defensive units incredibly vulnerable, and the head coach is going to have to perform absolute miracles to keep this ship afloat. But it gets worse because the schedule in the National Football League waits for nobody, and if we start the year slow, the noise surrounding his job security is going to become deafening. This is how dynasties are destroyed before they even begin, by creating a chaotic environment where the leader of the locker room is constantly looking over his shoulder. The pressure to win immediately is suffocating, and he knows that every single play call, every single timeout, and every single personnel grouping is going to be scrutinized under a microscope by a fan base that is starving for playoff success. But what the Colts are planning to do next is where things get really interesting. What do you think about this wild coaching situation? Drop your honest opinion in the comments below, because I read every single one. Daniel Jones is the name sending shockwaves through the Colts organization right now, as our turbulent offseason period and severely flawed planning have somehow become a massive reason for New York Jets fans to celebrate. And here is the scary part. The dependence on this massive quarterback contract, while he is still recovering from a devastating injury, has completely altered the value of the draft pick that belongs to New York. Inside the building, this raised serious concerns because tying up that much financial flexibility into a wildly unpredictable medical situation is exactly how you handicap a franchise for years to come. Now think about this. Rival fans are literally laughing at our misfortune because this massive roster gamble exposes how disorganized our front office strategy has truly become. This is the kind of move casual fans do not understand, but it can completely destroy the competitive window of a team trying to find its identity. Relying on a damaged signal caller who carries a terrifyingly heavy cap hit means we cannot surround our core players with the elite free agent talent they desperately need to succeed in a brutal division. But it gets worse, because every single update regarding his physical rehabilitation becomes a ticking time bomb for the executives who signed off on this bizarre off-season plan. If he suffers a setback, that draft capital we are bleeding out becomes incredibly valuable for the Jets, and we are left holding the bag with nothing to show for it. We are essentially mortgaging the immediate future of the shoe on a hope and a prayer, praying that the medical staff can perform an absolute miracle before week 1. This chaotic dependence on a questionable health status has completely derailed the positive momentum we were supposed to be building and has left the locker room wondering what the actual long-term vision is here. The entire league is watching this bizarre quarterback situation unfold, and unfortunately, Naptown is the punchline. But what the Colts are planning to do next is where things get really interesting. When you take a step back and look at the sheer magnitude of these intertwined storylines, it becomes painfully obvious that the Indianapolis Colts are standing at one of the most critical crossroads in the modern history of this franchise. The combination of a highly controversial and unproven draft strategy forced by early offseason inactivity, the massive and unfair pressure suddenly being shoved onto our head coach, and the bizarre quarterback contract situation that has literally given rival teams a reason to celebrate, is a recipe for absolute disaster if not handled perfectly. What we are witnessing is not just a standard rough patch in Naptown. This is a systemic organizational crisis playing out in real time in front of the entire National Football League. This front office is trying to thread a microscopic needle by banking on late-round defensive gems to salvage a roster that clearly lacks premium veteran reinforcements. If these draft gambles fail, the structural foundation of the shoe is going to crumble, and the coaching staff will be the first ones thrown overboard to take the blame. Furthermore, tying the value of our draft assets and financial future to a massive contract for a severely injured quarterback adds a layer of toxic unpredictability that makes building a consistent winner nearly impossible. The lack of clear communication and the glaringly flawed planning during the free agency window have completely alienated a fan base that was promised steady, sustained growth. This is how dynasties are built in the NFL, but conversely, this is exactly how once proud organizations plunge into years of dark, frustrating mediocrity. We are looking at a scenario where every single decision made over the next few weeks will directly dictate whether we become a legitimate playoff contender or the laughingstock of the AFC for the next half-decade. The margin for error has completely evaporated, and the people running the show at Lucas Oil Stadium are officially out of excuses. To wrap this all up, the Indianapolis Colts are navigating through an incredibly dangerous and chaotic storm right now, and the silence from the top is only making the fans more anxious by the minute. Between the risky draft strategy meant to cover up free agency failures, the immense pressure slowly crushing our head coach, and a quarterback contract that is actively turning our draft capital into a joke for rival teams, there is a lot to unpack. This is not just another minor speed bump in the offseason schedule. This is the kind of critical turning point that could define the next decade of football in the Circle City. The front office needs to execute absolute perfection in the upcoming draft, or the consequences are going to be severe and jobs will inevitably be lost. I need to know exactly how you are feeling about all of this chaos right now. Do you trust this administration to pull off a miracle, or are we heading toward a complete rebuild? Drop your raw, unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you ride with the shoe no matter what, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss another crucial update.